Alrighty, folks. I think we'll get started. And as people arrive, they arrive. Thanks for coming to the launch of the 2026 Sure Storytelling Competition. So in this session, we're going to just give you some information about the competition itself, and about storytelling and research, and how those things are connected. Um, go to my next slide here. There we go. So researches and stories on Treaty 6 territory. Research and storytelling are connected in lots of different ways, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those ways today. Um, I think storytelling personally is connected to research in a big way, especially when we talk about it in terms of where we're situated as a university, and that's on Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis. And so when we're talking about how storytelling and research are connected, one of the storytelling or story work principle frameworks that I like to bring up is from Dr. Joanne Archibald, and her Indigenous storytelling principles, because it really just sort of emphasizes how story is connected to research, and how it's connected to Indigenous ways of knowing. And so, yeah, I've just presented this one here as part of our land acknowledgement today, and just sort of think about research and storytelling together, on the lands that we're on today. So. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the storytelling competition and just exactly what that's all about. We'll talk about the timelines and those kind of things. So I just want to start off with the bit of the teaser video for the storytelling competition, and then we'll talk a little bit about the timelines. All right. So as you can see, the timelines for the storytelling competition are actually quite long. We want to get you started this summer, June, August, while you're actually doing your research, to be collecting your footage, to be filming the research that's going on, because this is the active part of your research opportunities. So this is the time we're in full production from June to August. Want to make sure that you're capturing footage and capturing the things you need in order to do that. June to September, we'll have a few more workshops and things that will help you for getting into your editing and post-production and putting those things together. And then the submission deadline, as you can see, October 1st, and then online voting in November. So let's talk about those a little bit more in depth. So like I say, summer is kind of production time for the Sure Storytelling Competition. So this is the time when you are researching and recording. And so make sure you're talking to your supervisor, of course, and getting permission, and making sure that the things you're filming are okay to be filming, and that and on those types of things. So as part of your summer production, we will be partnering with USask Media Production, which is our in-house media production unit here at the University of Saskatchewan. And they'll be providing some storytelling video workshops to help you get better footage with your cameras, and get better audio and those types of things. We're hoping to have a storytelling as methodology workshop as well. to talk a little bit about how storytelling and works in research as a methodology. And that's sort of at a cross-disciplinary kind of an approach to that. Knowledge mobilization through storytelling as well. We'll try and get a workshop in with that as well. So as you're filming this summer, those workshops should help you sort of get some skills you need to be collecting good footage, to be collecting good audio, to be collecting the pieces you'll need to put your story together in the fall. And this summer, we've got some production supports for that. So we are actually at the URSA office, undergraduate research office, going to be putting together a new promotional video for our new strategic plan that should be launching this fall as well. And as part of that production, we're hoping to capture some footage of undergraduate research this summer, again, while those activities are happening. So as part of that, there will be a call for undergraduate researchers this summer to have us, along with media production, come to your lab or come to the field where you're working, or come to your studios and do some filming for our project. But as part of that, if you're interested in competing in the storytelling competition, you'll gain access to that footage as well. And so you can use that footage that we shoot of you in your lab or in your studios or in the field doing your research, and of your team. You can be using that footage for your video as well. And so that just strengthens your video. So like I say, we'll be doing a call to try and get some footage for our own purposes this summer, but we're hoping that footage can be used sort of dual purpose and that you folks can use that towards your storytelling competition as well. Media production has also opened up their You Create Studio, and we'll have a look at that in a second, what that is. But they've opened up their You Create Studio, which is normally reserved for faculty and administration, for this competition. And so what that is a studio where you can go in and film talking heads and interviews and things like that in a controlled studio and environment, and get really great footage that way. So let's have a look at those. So I'm going to show you Studio B first, and this is where one of the workshops is going to be held in the education building. So we'll have a quick look at Studio B and where that workshop is going to be held, and talks a little bit about what media production does here on campus. And then we'll look at a video that talks about the You Create Studio, and that's the one you'll have access to as part of the storytelling competition. Production Studio B is located in the Education Building at the University of Saskatchewan. Operated and maintained by the media professionals in media production, this 1,500 square foot production studio with a 12-foot high lighting grid provides controlled recording conditions and can be configured to suit a variety of production scenarios. Some of the unique features of Studio B include professionally lit 20-foot by 20-foot green screen, a 208-inch projection screen with a grid-mounted high-definition projector, studio lighting across a DMX-controlled lighting grid, white and blue curved cyclorama walls, full surround black and light blue curtains, as well as a 70-inch high-definition smartboard and additional mobile preview monitors. Studio B provides space and features that accommodate interviews, panel discussions, hybrid teaching, event streaming, as well as soundstage space for large music or performance ensembles, and a demonstration presentation space with large-scale or complex production needs. Media production can help configure Studio B to your production needs and support your project with consultation from one of our media producers. Production support from our professional media technicians, post-production services, as well as audio, graphics, and animation services round out a full-service media production model where needed. Contact Media Production to learn more about our studios and services. Okay, so that's just a little bit about media production and Studio B, where one of the media workshops will take place this summer, and they'll be teaching how to capture better footage using your phone and some lighting techniques and things like that. That'll just help you get good quality footage for your video as you start to put that together. So, like I said, one of the other opportunities this summer as part of this is to make use of the Ucreate Studio. So we'll have a quick look at that video now and see what services are available there.
Welcome to USask Ucreate Studio, a dedicated video capture room where you can easily record lectures and presentations with the touch of a button and leave with a professional video file. When you arrive, our technicians will show you the space and help you get your session configured to best suit your vision. The Ucreate Studio is set up for a variety of applications. Capture lectures and presentations, interview setups, record announcements, or capture demonstrations. The Ucreate Studio provides a dedicated space to get it done. Letting us know what type of recording you're looking to do ahead of your session will allow us to configure the room so you can get the most out of your session time. The studio computer console is like ones you'll find in lecture theaters and classrooms across campus. You simply log into the desktop with your NSID. You can present with visuals such as images or slides, bring them on your memory stick and insert them here. Load the visuals you want to start with first, as usual. Then insert your USB drive into the recorder. The 16 to 32 gigabyte drive works best with the studio hardware, and your drive should be formatted to FAT32. Note that 1 hour of footage can be as large as 5 gigabytes of data, so please keep that in mind. A variety of switchable picture-in-picture views are available for your recording, and your technician can help you find the right one for your needs. Wearing clothing with tight patterns such as stripes and some plaid can cause a moire effect on your footage. It's also a good idea to avoid wearing green if you plan on using the chroma key feature in your video. Once you're all set up, you can hit record and start presenting. Each time you start and stop the recording, a new video file will be transferred to your USB drive. If you have any questions during your session, our technicians are just one call away. When you're all done, your USB drive contains your files and you're on your way. To book your session or for more information, email us at media_production@usask.ca.
Yeah, so the Ucreate Studio is just a great space if you're looking to record some interviews or some talking head pieces for your video. Those types of things. Like I say, there is a green screen there, so you can be sort of have a picture up and be talking about that picture in front of it and those kinds of things. So just another option to help support your production work this summer as you sort of collect footage for your video. So then so that's kind of the summer. You'll be collecting footage. There's workshops, like I say, that'll help you to sort of develop that. You'll have access to those spaces, and you can book a time for media production to come and shoot at your studio or at your lab and get some footage for you that you can use for editing and that kind of thing. Then in the fall, that's when the post-production happens. And so again, media production will host a video editing workshop that'll help you to learn some techniques for putting all of those pieces of footage that you've gathered over the summer together, how to do some narration, those kinds of things. And so they'll host that workshop in the fall. I think that's in September. And then video submission is October 1st. This year we're doing a little bit different. Everybody will submit a video, and we'll have those online for people to view. And then there'll be online voting and adjudication all through October. So you'll be able to watch everybody's videos online, see what other folks have produced, and there will be online voting and an adjudication process all through October. And then we'll announce the winner at the beginning of November. So we can have a look at the two. This is the third annual year for the storytelling competition. So let's just have a quick look at the two winners, 2024 and 2025, and see what we're looking at.
I grew up in Cumberland House. I was raised there. I don't think there was any other route for me to not be interested in ecosystem health. I heard about it my whole life growing up, sitting at the table with my family. We would sit down and drink tea. That was always a topic that came up. Like, oh, I went out on the river today and this is what I saw. This is what's happening. The university would come into our high school with students and they would have projects that related to the Delta. That's how me and my classmates were involved. We got to interview elders in the community, and that kind of provided greater insight into the changes that were going on because we were talking to more elders.
I think a lot of students probably don't realize how much of an aptitude that they might have for research until they get their first taste of it. Chagos first got involved in research in a way when she was in high school. So she's had several years now working with me, some here on campus and some in her home community of Cumberland.
I was able to work from my home. I got to go home and be with my family. I started from there and that was really good because I was just I feel like a little kid that never had been in a science lab before. So I was like, this is comfortable for me. And it kind of worked up from there to the point of where I was in the lab a couple summers ago and then this previous summer.
We practice two-eyed seeing as much as possible, and that means we bring sort of our Western science training, work closely with elders and land users and people, those people that know and understand their land and water better than anyone else.
Still making connections and learning how to connect the oral, like history, kind of the indigenous scientific model with the Western model. Now that I think about it more and I learn more about my history, I have to listen to my family. The people who go out every day onto the water, they notice the changes that are happening, like this really small, intricate ones, and acknowledge their knowledge. I think there just needs to be more listing done from the science, like lab perspective, and really taking into account what they're telling and observing that as real scientific observations.
Okay, so that was a Chagos carrier, and in that video, we can see examples of all of those things we sort of talked about in terms of those products. So there was footage that Chagos had recorded herself in her home community and on a couple of different research projects. She had still images from when she was in high school and was working on a university project. There was some footage from media production coming into her lab and filming with her there. And then those interviews of her and her supervisor both took place in that UCreate studio. So again, that's the kind of thing that you'll have the opportunity to access this summer, and the kind of footage that you can get a hold of this summer with working with media production. So last year, we had Natalie Vanador, who presented at our SURE symposium. And this was her winning video from last year.
What if regaining strength, confidence, and connection after spinal cord injury could start with the simple act of cycling? This summer, I was part of a research team supervised by Dr. Hope Jervis Rademeyer, working on developing a community of practice for functional electrical stimulation cycling, or FES cycling. This is a rehabilitative therapy that uses mild electrical currents to stimulate nerves, which can activate weak or paralyzed muscle groups to allow them to be able to move again. So this can be really helpful for people with spinal cord injuries or other mobility challenges, and allows them with FES cycling to be able to pedal a stationary bike with their arms or with their legs. And What's really exciting about this therapy is that it allows people to re-engage with exercise or with sport following their injury in a way that is meaningful to their rehabilitation and their physical and their mental well-being.
I found out about FDS cycling through a motorcycle accident that I had 26 years ago. Found out that I was paralyzed from the chest down after a collision with a truck. My legs had atrophied quite substantially over 6 months of not using them. But upon embarking on the FES every second day, I would say my legs reversed atrophy back to almost their normal size. It really, I think, gave me some hope that I could empower me to maintain my health.
To help overcome implementation barriers, the FES Cycling Community of Practice was developed, which helps bring together researchers, clinicians, and people with spinal cord injuries across Alberta and Saskatchewan, with the common goal of increasing awareness of FES cycling and making it more accessible across the Prairie provinces for everybody who needs it.
Yeah, I think just to realize you're not alone, one thing, and that there's other people with the same passions as myself out there, and people that are riding every other day or every day, and just to see some excitement and enthusiasm around AFS cycling.
When I first found out about the project, I felt immediately drawn to it because of my own personal experience with a spinal cord disorder, which changed my life in a lot of ways and really showed me how important community support can be during recovery. The FES Cycling Community of Practice helps to connect people, ideas, and resources to work towards our goal of making FES cycling more accessible across the Prairie provinces, and shows that recovery is not just about the therapy, it's about connecting with other people and working together to make a difference.
Yeah, so again, Natalie chose to shoot her sort of stand-up talking pieces in one of the labs that was used for the research that she was a part of, and then chose to bring in one of the participants in the study to interview them and bring their story into part of it. So lots of different options in terms of sort of how you put your story together or how you sort of think about it. The impact for both of those researchers, I think, has been positive. So not only do we promote the winners across all of our social media platforms and different sort of research newsletters and things like that, once the winner's been selected. But for Achagos, RPI, which is Research Profile and Impact, which is part of the connected with communications of University of Saskatchewan, did a separate story on Achagos and her research. So that was showcased on the university website as a separate story, and she was interviewed for that. And then, like I say, all of the social media things that we sent out as well. Whoops. Where did we go here? Sorry. And then Natalie will actually be speaking at the ARSA Impact Summit next week. So she's an invited speaker at the ARSA Impact Summit next week, and we'll be talking about her research and the experience she had at the storytelling competition. So this project, this storytelling competition, has certainly helped to propel some of those research profiles for both of these undergraduate students. And so we would hope that it would do the same for the winner this year and for the participants. So that's kind of it in terms of the details for the competition. So the sort of timelines, the workshops that'll be coming up, all of that, the full guidelines, and more information, that's all available on our SURE webpage. Under the SURE storytelling competition heading. So you can get all of that information there. If you have any other questions, just email us at undergraduate.research.usask. and we can certainly answer any other questions you might have. Like I say, we'll be putting out a separate call to everybody to have media production come and film with your labs and to gather some footage of some of the undergraduate research that's happening across campus this summer. Regardless of whether you participate in the storytelling competition or not, we'll be putting that call out. But if you are planning on submitting something for the storytelling competition, like I say, that footage is available to you. So I'll just pause for a second if there are any questions about the actual process of the storytelling competition or some of the details there. Let's wait and see if there's anything online or questions in the room. Any questions online there, Morgana? Do you know?
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, I see. Do you have more details about the research summit? And were we able to attend as audience members next week? Yeah, I believe there are still spots available. So if you just go on the USask website and just search for the Research Impact Summit, and there should be a link there to their Eventbrite page, and you can get tickets to that. Okay. So the storytelling competition, I always say, is more than just a video contest. We really like to explore storytelling in research, sort of from three different perspectives. So storytelling as methodology, storytelling for research mobilization, and storytelling as media literacy. And so these are kind of the places where storytelling can have an impact as we sort of develop our skills around them. So in terms of methodology, the significance of storytelling culturally across the planet is always very important. And in lots of cultures, it is how knowledge is transferred, and it's foundational to sort of how we make sense of the world together, how we make meaning together, and that sort of thing. And so storytelling within research as a methodology has been gaining attention for the last number of years. One of the big announcements just recently at the University of Saskatchewan, just at the end of May here, is that the university has received a $3.1 million CFI grant for the Story Collider, which will be a new technological space for storytelling research and for looking into storytelling as a methodology, how storytelling sort of brings researchers together, how community partners and that kind of thing can be involved. So this is a really big opportunity for the university. MIT has this type of a space for researching storytelling as a methodology, and we're really excited about this one. So I'm trying to get either Don Wallin or Andrew Denton to come in and talk a little bit about the Story Collider and just what that means and how that all gets put together. So we'll see if we can grab them this summer, but it's a busy time for everybody, so we'll see. But that's a really interesting development for the University of Saskatchewan around storytelling in research that's happening now as methodology. When we talk about storytelling as a form of research mobilization, it's becoming more and more important. You'll notice in most government research grants now, not only are you required to have a data management plan, but you're also required to have a research mobilization plan. And that goes beyond just dissemination in articles or journals and things like that, but how you plan on disseminating your research through a more accessible sort of format. And it's important because we need to make sure that what we're researching, especially when it comes from public dollars, is accessible and usable for and has an impact on the community around us. But turning a complex story into something that's digestible is not always an easy task. So let's have a look at an example here. This is a article that was published out of University of Saskatchewan in 2024. So I'll just give you a minute to read the title and skim quickly through the abstract and have a look at what this says. Okay, so lots of discipline-specific language here. This is a perfectly appropriate title and abstract for the discipline, and for the journal that this was published in, perfectly adequate. This is exactly what would be expected from the journal that this was published in. This is perfectly reasonable, but hard for grandma and grandpa to digest this maybe. Hard for our neighbor to say, you go to a party and they're like, hey, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm a researcher. Oh, what are you researching? Wow. Just really hard for anybody to sort of get much out of that. So how do we sort of do this? So in this case, RPI, which again, Research Profile and Impact, which is kind of a communications unit within research acceleration and strategic initiatives here at the University of Saskatchewan. And they do lots of communications of the research that's happening here at the university. So when they got a hold of this, they understood that this was a really, really, really important discovery and that this was a really important thing that the University of Saskatchewan's faculty had discovered and had developed. And so how do we tell this story to the general populace? How do we get this? How do we get the impact of this out to the general population? So this was the title from their story. New glass ceramic composite shows promise for safer storage of nuclear waste. And with that title, you can really see the impact of it, right? Safer storage of nuclear waste, something that maybe wasn't in the original title at all, right? So an investigation of the long-term aqueous corrosion behavior of glass zirconolite composite materials as a potential nuclear waste form. Okay, and then we look at what RPI was able to do with that and sort of say, okay, simplify, it's a glass ceramic composite. Don't know exactly what that is, but I know what glass is. I know what ceramics are. So composite, combined. Okay, I can understand that. It's that. And what is it doing? It's promising safer nuclear waste storage. And so from that story that went out, that got picked up by two other science magazine and writers who also went on to give stories about this. And so you can see that when we get it to a point where it is digestible, it is also shareable. And so our research has a wider impact, it has a wider audience, and it goes beyond just that academic journal. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with storytelling in video. So how do we do that in a really good way? Well, so Storytellers Challenge is a very similar competition to the storytelling competition from SHRC. So if you are a social science or humanities researcher, I encourage you to take your storytelling competition entry and also enter the Storytellers Challenge, which I believe the deadline for is typically around January. So the timing is good to be able to develop it for one and to move on to accessing this one as well. But they've got a couple of really good tips here just at the bottom. So focus. Ask yourself, what's the important information people need to know about your research? And that's obviously the important first piece. So what is it they need to know about it? So if somebody comes up to you at a party and says, what's your research about? Well, what do they need to know about it? They need to know all the background and your whole literature review? Probably not. But what's the important piece? So trying to pick that out. Talking to all of us again, I always think of my parents and if I'm trying to explain something to them, They're intelligent people, they're educated people, but not necessarily in the same field that I'm in. And so, how would I explain it to them? How would I explain it to family or friends by avoiding the jargon? Using analogies and images from everyday life. So it's like this is a really good way to sort of do that. And then coming up with that short attention grabbing title as well. Obviously, a good idea. Make it relatable. So again, how is this affecting people personally? So you can see in our last example, um, shows promise for safer storage of nuclear waste. Well, that's something we're all interested in, right? Like that's something we can all sort of say, I can see the impact of that. I can see the effect to me personally of that, and how that might be useful. And then show and tell, thinking that gripping start to your entry will grab the attention the first few seconds. And that's something we try and do even in our even in our academic writing, is to grab that attention in the first few seconds. And in this way, we're just trying to do it maybe using visuals and helping to do that with visuals. That QR code will take you to the Storytellers Challenge website. The other thing that I would encourage everybody to do, whether you're a SSHRC researcher or an NSERC researcher or a CHR researcher, they do have a number of their entries, past entries available on that site. So if you want just some more examples of student videos about research that have been winners in the past for that competition, you can follow that QR code and see just some more examples of research videos done by students. So when we talk about media literacy and telling the story through media, media is just one of those tools that we need to be literate in this day and age. So the same way we want to build our academic writing skills to be able to write articles well and write journal articles well that that put our findings together in digestible ways. Media is another one of those literacies where we can be doing that and need to have some skills in doing that this day and age. So we've had lots of workshops this summer already about different academic writing skills and how to make a turn in your writing from one thing to the next and those types of things. And media is one of those ways that we can communicate. So being good at communicating with media, being good at communicating with visuals, with audio, by putting those two things together and narration, that's a skill that is more and more in demand in every field, but certainly in research. So at the University of Saskatchewan, we have a online self-directed course called Be Media Wise. This is available in the SSHRC community of practice in the modules. All of these Be Media Wise modules are there in that course or in that community of practice. Some of the ones I might recommend having a look at, your role as an active audience. So just how we perceive what media is doing. And that's really what this course is about, is it's about getting you aware of how you're being impacted by media, how telling a story with visuals and audio and combining those things impacts you as a viewer. And so that's a good one for that. And then positive media engagement as well. Just talks about sort of the power of media literacy and being good with media and how that helps you tell your story and how that's a powerful tool for telling stories and keeping an eye on just what's happening with media and how media uses that to tell their story in an impactful way. So those are modules that are available to you through the SSHRC community of practice, or you can just Google Be Media Wise USask and sign up for that whole course as well. Again, that's just a self-directed thing, so you can go through those modules. All great modules, lots of good things to sort of be looking at and thinking about in terms of media literacy through those. A couple other ones that are available on the SSHRC website from media production that might be helpful this summer are the Video Production Basics DIY Guide. That workshop that they'll be teaching in July will sort of be taken straight from this guide. So this is kind of the resource that will go along with that workshop. But just some good helpful tips in terms of how to use your phone and how to get good audio and placement for lights and those kinds of things, or just getting better lighting and getting better audio and things like that with the tools that you already have on your phone or on your person. So that's a guidebook that they have. And then they've also got a blog with lots of good resources called You Make Media. So both of those resources are available on the storytelling webpage. I think that's all I had today to talk about in terms of the storytelling competition guidelines and different pieces. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those. And otherwise, we hope to see you at the workshops, and we'll be contacting everybody to see their availability for sharing some of their research this summer with us and gathering some video. Just have a look at the chat here. I won't be here during the fall. Is it feasible for me to submit the competition without access to the specific workshops? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the workshops well, again, most of the workshops should be happening this summer. Certainly, we have that video one with media production scheduled for, I think it's July 14th. Details of that are on the website. So that one you can access there, and you can certainly, but you can certainly submit to the competition without accessing those specific workshops. Yeah, you bet, absolutely. If you think you've got what you need to put the video together, by all means, just put it together and submit in the fall when that submission deadline comes around.